like to drive around a lot, and that helps with song ideas. How does that help to inform your musical imprint in ways?
I think that's referring to this trip I did like while I was writing this record, which was in like southern Utah. I was just driving a lot, like solo. It just gives you a good time to think, you know, and like sort of occupies your left brain so you can let your right sort of run free.
Among the key traits that were central to this record was, you know, preserving some mystery in the modern world. How does that come into play?
Yeah, I mean, the way that people write lyrics, like the way that I write lyrics, is to use metaphor pretty heavily, and that's like really interesting to me. Try to keep things a little bit hidden. Maybe you have to dig for what the song is like actually about, you know? That's interesting to me. I don't like it when people just lay things out, you know?
There's some traditional chord changes throughout this record and some not. A lot of it was intuitive for you.
Right.
You know, what did you have in mind with regards to the composition in terms of how you were going to maneuver the chords particularly?
I have a lot of classical training, and I played classical guitar for a long time, so that sort of informs things. But then while I was writing this one, I was getting more into country music and like also some like 70s stuff like Leon Russell, and the way that they do chord changes is like very idiosyncratic too, so sort of combining both those things.
I wanted to get your views on some of the material on this record. The song entitled Carousel, I mean, it's about stepping back, taking breaks and trying to get some perspective.
Yeah.
Was that, you know, the type of expression that was kind of seeping into this record, something that you were compelled to express?
Yeah, totally. I mean, that song's like about Los Angeles, you know, about living there and trying to carve out your own little spot where you feel comfortable in. But yeah, I think that's like that's a representative song for the rest of the record, for sure.
The song entitled Body, tell me about fleshing out this song. I mean, when you were fleshing this one out and it was being formed and you were layering it, you know, and the tones and the arrangements, were you aiming to imply a certain energy with this one?
Yeah, I mean, that's the one, like, I kind of wanted to showcase that pedal steel playing in that song, and I was kind of thinking about that when I was writing it. Like, it's a pretty standard progression, but like adding frills here and there, I think, makes it a little bit more interesting.
And throughout the course of the year, when you play live, you're always performing with new musicians and it's always shifting. Does that keep things interesting for you?
Oh yeah, for sure. So this is solo, this trip in Europe, and that's been really interesting to do, but in the US, before I came out here, I was playing with like the same pedal steel player I always play with, but a new rhythm section, and working with those guys was really cool. And I think we made some interesting music.
And you try not to go onto the computer too much because
this is like a thing too.
Yeah, I think it is.
I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I'm like against technology. I'm like not using my phone during this like trip. But I don't know, whatever. I mean, you just have to be, I think people have to be aware of like how it messes with their minds. It messes with my mind, you know.
Yeah. I mean, are you referring to like aesthetics and like, you know, we're all like kind of drawn to just imagery and like, you know, there's not much, you know, thinking for yourself, perhaps?
For sure. I mean, it can like take away a lot of nuance that is like something special about being human. So like, yeah, and if you're trying to write music, like, it's probably like not too good.
And with regards to herbalism, are you getting into herbalism a lot more? I mean, you know, is that serving you well? Are there particular avenues that you're looking to delve into?
Yeah, I mean, that's like just been an interest for a long time, but I don't know, it's pretty deep. It's like a good way to connect with nature.
And when you overlook Open to Chance as a body of work, what's pleased you most with regards to your way of working with this release?
I mean, I feel like a lot of people will say this about their own records, but like using the songs as like templates, and then when you play live a lot, you can sort of like mess with it a little bit and change things around, and that's kind of cool to look at it that way. For sure.
I understand the first live show that you ever attended was Alanis Morissette. When you look back at that, what resonates most?
This is like, how do people know this shit? Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it's like the 90s. I don't know. Probably not really an influence.
How is downtime spent whilst you're on tour?
Oh, well, we pretty much like, you know, light a candle and listen to some music, lay down for a while.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just like think. That sounds pretty good.
And finally, I mean, you know, as you head forward, what would you say is your biggest drive?
Lately I've been really into like just playing with new people and like recording and just thinking about that kind of stuff. Like I'm working on a new record, so that's what I've been into.